Two young girls, a quiet trail in Delphi, Indiana, a grainy image of a man on a bridge, hands in his pockets, head down, and a haunting voice captured forever on a cell phone, saying just 3 words, down the hill. This is the case of Abby Williams and Libby German, the Delphi Murders, a crime that shocked America, confounded investigators for years, and left a small town living in fear of a killer hiding in plain sight.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
On the afternoon of February 13th, 2017, 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Libby German set out on a walk along the Monon High Bridge Trail, a scenic route on the quiet outskirts of Delphi, Indiana. It was supposed to be a simple day out, a way to enjoy the woods, the bridge, each other's company. But that ordinary afternoon would soon turn into a nightmare, one that has since become one of the most infamous true crime cases in modern history. Hours later, after posting what would become her final photo on social media, the girls failed to meet up with Libby's father. Their families searched. At first, they thought it was nothing, but by the next day, their lives and their community would be shattered forever. By noon on February 14th, the bodies of Abby and Libby were discovered, just half a mile from the abandoned Monon High Bridge. From the beginning, investigators knew this was something dark, but what they would later uncover was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. What makes this case unforgettable is not just the brutality of the murders, it's the eerie trail of evidence the girls left themselves behind. Evidence that turned Libby German into a hero, because in her final moments, she had the courage to pull out her phone and secretly record the man approaching her. A blurred image, a muffled voice, 3 words, down the hill. That recording would echo through the years, replayed millions of times, haunting anyone who dares to listen. The murders of Abigail Williams and Libby German, also known as the Delphi Murders, occurred on February 13, 2017, in Delphi, Indiana. Their bodies were discovered near the Monon High Bridge Trail, part of the Delphi Historic Trails, from where the girls disappeared the previous day. The murders received extensive media coverage, in part due to video and audio recordings released by law enforcement that came from German's smartphone, which recorded an individual believed to be the killer. The case remained unresolved for 5 years until 2022, when Richard M. Allen was arrested and charged with the murders. He was found guilty in 2024 and sentenced to 130 years in prison. At 1:30 p.m. on February 13, 2017, 13-year-old Abigail Joyce Williams and 14-year-old Libby Rose Lynn German were dropped off by German's older sister Kelsey German on County Road 300 North, east of the Hoosier Heartland Highway. The girls were hiking on the Monon High Bridge over Deer Creek, among woodland in remote Deer Creek Township. At 2:07 p.m., German used social media to post a photo of Williams walking the bridge. After this incident, they were not heard from again. They were reported missing at 5:30 p.m. after they had failed to meet German's father at 3:15 p.m. The families initially searched for the girls themselves before calling the police. Authorities searching the area did not initially suspect foul play in the disappearance. This changed when the bodies of the girls were found around noon the next day, about 0.5 miles east of the abandoned Monon High Bridge. The bodies were found on the north bank of Deer Creek. Police did not initially release details of how the girls were murdered. As early as February 15th, 2017, Indiana State Police began circulating a still image of an individual reportedly seen on the Monon High Bridge Trail, near where the two friends were slain. The grainy photograph appeared to capture a white male, hands in pockets, head down, walking on the rail bridge towards the girls. A few days later, the person in the photograph, dubbed the Bridge Guy, was named the prime suspect in the double homicide. On February 22nd, law enforcement released an audio recording during which the voice of the suspect, although muffled, is heard to say, "Down the hill." Officials credited the source of the audio and imagery to German's smartphone and further regarded her as a hero for having the presence of mind and fortitude to secretly record the exchange. Police indicated that additional evidence from the phone had been secured, but would not release further details so as not to compromise any future trial. On July 17th, police distributed a composite sketch of someone sought as a person of prime interest in the murders. The sketch was created from eyewitness accounts of a hiker on the Delphi historic trails the day the girls disappeared. On April 22, 2019, Indiana State Police announced a new direction in the case and released a new sketch of the suspect, while encouraging the public to look at the sketch, listen to the audio, watch how the man walks on the bridge, and send tips to the tip line. Investigators stated they had reason to believe that the suspect might be hiding in plain sight and was almost certainly familiar with the Delphi area, from living there, working there, or for other reasons. An additional plea was made for help in identifying the driver of a vehicle abandoned off the Hoosier Heartland Highway in Delphi at the former Child Services Office between noon and 5 p.m. on the day of the murders. Arrest and developments. In September 2022, investigators reviewed a misfiled tip after a volunteer file clerk discovered the error. Richard Allen's last name was recorded incorrectly on the tip when submitted, and the file was therefore wrongly marked as cleared. The file clerk deduced that the tip from years earlier was regarding Richard Allen and brought it to the case's investigator. In the tip, Richard Allen self-reported 3 days after the murders to being on the trails on the day of the murders and seeing 3 girls on the trails. On October 26, 2022, Richard Allen was taken into custody and appeared in court on October 28th. On October 31st, Indiana State Police announced that Allen had been charged with 2 counts of murder in the case. He pled not guilty. The arrest was described as the first major break in a case that has captivated national attention for nearly 6 years. On November 29, 2022, Judge Francis Gull issued an order to unseal the probable cause affidavit that led to Allen's arrest. According to the redacted document, video footage recovered from German's phone showed one of the victims mentioning gun as a man wearing a dark jacket and jeans approached them and ordered them to go down the hill. Investigators believe Allen is the man seen in the video. Investigators also found a .40 caliber unspent round, less than 2 feet from one victim's body, between the 2 victims. It was later determined that the round came from a gun owned by Allen. A witness said she saw a man walking away from the bridge, wearing a blue jacket and blue jeans, and that he was muddy and bloody. Another witness and a tip mentioned that a car was parked oddly and appeared to be parked in a way to hide its license plate. Investigators said the description of the vehicle matched a vehicle that Allen owned in 2017. According to the affidavit, Allen was interviewed by police in 2017 and said he was on the trail that afternoon for around 2 hours. In a subsequent interview in October 2022, Allen told authorities he had worn jeans and a black or blue jacket that day and had gone to the bridge to watch fish. Richard Matthew Allen, born September 1972, grew up in Mexico, Indiana. Allen was a student at North Miami Middle High School in neighboring Denver, where he participated in football, track and field, until graduating in 1991. He attended Ivy Tech Community College, where he studied accounting and had a short stint in both the U.S. Army and National Guard. Allen later married and had one daughter. From 2003 until 2013, he worked as a store manager at a Logansport Walmart. He later worked at two CVS pharmacy stores, one in Peru and the other in Delphi, before receiving his pharmacy technician license in February 2018. Public records show that Allen relocated to Delphi from Mexico in December 2006. Shortly after his arrest, Allen told authorities that on the day of the murders, he was at his mother's house in Peru while his wife was working. He said he left the house around 11:15 a.m. and arrived on the Monon High Trail around an hour later. Allen stated that he saw 3 girls passing by on the trail, but did not see anyone else afterwards. He said he then went on his phone to watch the stock ticker while walking. Shortly after the murders, Allen told his wife that he was on the trail the day the girls went missing. He then self-reported to a Department of Natural Resources officer 3 days after the murders, trial and sentencing. On December 2, 2022, Judge Gull issued a gag order until January 2023. Allen's defense attorneys argued in a motion to move the trial out of Carroll County, based on concerns about juror bias due to what they described as the extensive media attention and highly publicized nature of the case in the local area. In October 2023, Judge Gull removed the defense attorneys, citing gross negligence due to crime scene photos being leaked from their office. The attorney's removal was appealed to the Indiana Supreme Court, which reinstated the defense attorneys to the case. The trial began on October 18, 2024, in Delphi. During the trial, prosecutors stated both girls had their throats cut. Williams was found fully clothed in German's clothing, whereas German was discovered nude. An unspent .40 caliber bullet was discovered between the bodies and was later linked to Allen's gun. Prosecutors said that Allen had admitted to the murders more than 60 times while incarcerated, confessing to his wife, his mother, family members, the prison warden, the psychologist who treated him in prison, other prison employees, and other inmates. The confessions were made in person, over the phone, and in writing. Prosecutors told the jury that Allen was the bridge guy after showing them a digitally enhanced 43-second version of the cell phone video recorded by German. A state police master trooper, who had listened to more than 700 of Allen's prison phone calls, tested that the voice of the bridge guy was the voice of Richard Allen. A clinical psychologist who worked for the Indiana Department of Corrections Behavioral Health tested on behalf of the defense that Allen was diagnosed with a serious mental illness and had a grave disability. She tested that Allen told her that he had originally planned to sexually assault the victims, but ran away when he saw a van nearby, and instead cut the girls' throats and covered their bodies with sticks. The defense hired a neuropsychologist from Carmel, Indiana, who tested at trial that Allen had severe depression, as well as work-related stress and anxiety. The jury, which had been sequestered during the trial, began deliberations on November 7th. On November 11th, 2024, Allen was convicted on all counts. On December 20th, 2024, Judge Gull sentenced Allen to 65 years for the murder of German and 65 years for the murder of Williams, with the terms to be served consecutively, resulting in a total of 130 years in prison. Allen was transported to Westville Correctional Facility and later the Pendleton Correctional Facility, where he is serving his 130-year sentence. On April 9, 2025, the Indiana State Police interrogation video and prison confession of Richard Allen were released to the public. In one of the videos, Allen is seen denying the murders the day of his arrest. Another video features 8 phone conversations between Allen, his wife, and his mother, where he is heard confessing to the murders. This was the first time the recordings had been made public, although they had previously been heard during Allen's trial. In response to a request from German's mother in 2017, homeowners across central Indiana installed orange lights on their front porches to commemorate the girls as well as to indicate that the murderer remained at large at that time. In August 2017, the families announced their plans to build a sports complex for Delphi in memory of the girls. A nonprofit organization, the L&A Park Foundation, was formed to celebrate and commemorate the lives of Libby German and Abby Williams by creating a place for the appreciation of nature, art, play, and athleticism for generations to come. A site was procured a mile north of Delphi, and in the years following the girls' deaths, continued progress has been made in the development of Abby and Libby Memorial Park. In 2020, the L&A Park Foundation was named a recipient of the NBA All-Star 2021 Legacy Grant. The Delphi Community Middle School, which both girls attended at the time of their murders, renamed the school's library to the Abby and Libby Memorial Library.